ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
Welcome into this Tuesday, April 1st edition. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Christian Palmer. Paul will be in the studio here shortly to take you through the majority of your drive home, but he asked me to step in and kick things off for you today. If you've ever listened to me host this show, you know that I am a big baseball guy. MLB season has just begun, so let's talk a little bit of baseball to start things off today in the first segment of today's show. As you know, we are a proud radio affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and man, has it been a disappointing start to the season for the Bucks. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they are the gift of disappointment that just keeps on giving. Pirates currently 1-4 on the season, and it is way too early to give up on any major league team at this point. Still 157 games left to play of the year, but I really think the vast majority of Pirates fans have already given up on the 2025 season, which is honestly really sad. This was supposed to be an exciting year for the Pirates, the first full season for the young phenom right-handed pitcher Paul Swann, arguably the best pitching prospect of all time. Certainly recent memory is Skeens, and he immediately showed that he belonged in the MLB after the performances that he put up in 2024. Rookie of the Year and also the betting favorite to win the Cy Young Award in the National League for this season. A lot of homegrown pieces on the current roster. In the rotation, Paul Swann, Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, even though he is injured at the moment. A great 1-2-3 to start your rotation. And then in the lineup, Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, Ke'Bryan Hayes, among others. There are a lot of guys on this team that are either on a very team-friendly contract or still on their rookie deals. Point being, there are cheap players that can contribute to winning baseball on the roster, but as the Pirates have done so often in the past, they just didn't spend enough money this offseason, adding solid veterans to support the younger guys on the roster. Players like Paul Swann, Jared Jones, O'Neal Cruz and company. I mean, the Pirates' prized possession of this offseason is a 37-year-old Tommy Pham. And, yeah, he has not had the greatest start to the year either, as you could imagine. In a year that should have been a huge step forward for the Bucks, it appears as though Pirates are going to take a step back. And it is still super early on, just 5 games into the year, and 157 left. We will have game number 6 of the season for you. Airtime set for 6:40, 7:05 first pitch. Just kind of explaining a little more of this slow start for the Bucks as I see my friend Paul poking into the studio now. They didn't lose a ton of players. Did lose Aroldis Chapman in free agency. Sure bet Hall of Famer once his career is all done and set in stone. One of the best relief pitchers of all time. Certainly the best lefty strikeout pitcher out of the bullpen ever. But the makeup of the current bullpen is leaving a lot to be desired. But just before got on the air, the Pirates did make a big move and are optioning 2-time All-Star David Bednar, the team's closer, down to AAA. So you can't say that they aren't making any moves, and I think that time is of the essence for this current regime. It's year 6 for Derek Shelton and Ben Sherrington, and it has been nothing but losing seasons up to this point. And Derek Shelton, he said it himself before the year got going. It's time to win. The rebuild is over. Well, Shelty, you are certainly struggling a few games into the year, and do not want to put too much weight into the first 5 games of the 2024 season, but it kind of just feels like the 2024 season part 2. Marshall baseball will also be in action today. The Herd hosting EKU, trying to improve upon that 9-3 home record. Marshall with a nice come-from-behind win earlier, I should say this past weekend, going up against Troy. Troy, I believe, was ranked number 22 at the time of the win for Marshall. The series finale, Marshall was able to come from behind and get a win after trailing 4-0. So Marshall 3-6 in conference play at the moment, 9-3 record at home. I've said this before on the Marshall baseball broadcast this year. I think that the recipe for improvement or just continuing to build for Greg Beals and take a step forward every year. Marshall was really good at home last year, has been great at home this year, but only 3 wins on the road last year, already 4 up to this point. So I think for Coach Beals, it's just continuing to fight each and every weekend in conference play and get a few more Sun Belt wins under his belt and continue to dominate at home. The beautiful Jack Cook Field has been tremendous for Greg Beals and his Thundering Herd. And before I get off here for the day, I have to mention my Tri-State Coldcats, who also really enjoying the venue at Jack Cook Field. And, I've been in contact with Tommy Gregg, our manager, in the past few weeks, and he is fired up about coming back to Huntington. And I also had some league meetings last week in Knoxville, Tennessee. Was given the go-ahead to release a few other members of our coaching staff, so pay attention to the Coldcats socials on Friday at 11 a.m. We will be announcing another member of our coaching staff. So that should be very fun. Already looking forward to June 9th will be our home opener, and I hope to see each and every one of you at the ballpark. But if you're not, we've got the Coldcats games for you right here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. So that's it for me. Christian Palmer came in to talk some baseball today, and I'm going to go ahead and give you your main man, Paul Swann.
Oh, no. I was just going to say thank you. Yeah, you want to do the rest of the show? I'll go home. I'll listen to you. You can talk baseball. How's that?
I went ahead and I used up most of my bullets to kick things off.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me on here today.
I thank you for doing it, because I was sitting there at the garage, went in, and my vehicle was out front. I'm like, oh, great, it's done. They're like, no, we haven't done this yet. Oh, okay, how long is that going to take? Well, it's going to take at least an hour. Well, I do go on the air at 5, right? You guys know that, since I do live at the garage, it feels like.
Yeah.
So they got me out of there just in time, and I got to go back in a couple of weeks, Christian.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they found a problem, so I got to go back in a couple of weeks.
That's the one bad thing with having your car looked at. They always find another issue that you weren't anticipating.
I kind of anticipated this one.
Well,
only because the symptoms. I'm diagnosing the car. I'm like, okay, I've got this problem. I think this is the problem. They're like, yeah, that's the problem. I almost should open my own garage. You want to go in business with me? We could do Coldcats cars.
Hey, that definitely has the alliteration right there. It rolls off the tongue pretty nicely.
Coldcat cars. Let's do it.
I know a lot about baseball, but not a lot about cars. So maybe we could combine forces, make the Catmobile.
I like it. Okay, so we'll be looking forward to all the updates with the Coldcats soon. Christian, thanks for doing it. I'm going to change seats with you. And, one thing that we're going to talk about, I don't know how management would feel about giving away free food with your ticket purchase, but at Coastal Carolina University, you get free food with your ticket purchase in football.
I did see that on social media over the weekend. Very interesting. I'll check for you. That's the best I'll give you.
Let's find out if management will go with that plan. We're going to talk about that and more. I want to thank Christian for stepping in, and we will continue on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 AM 930.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talkline, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Welcome back to this April 1st edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our talk line is open this hour. We do that brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Again, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I want to thank Christian Palmer for stepping in, helping me out just for a few minutes. Sometimes life gets in the way, and it doesn't matter that I have a scheduled show at 5:06 p.m. So I appreciate Christian for stepping in. Looking forward to hearing Christian. He'll be on the call of our Saturday showcase coming up this weekend as the Herd taking on Southern Miss in Marshall's beautiful, nearly a year old now, Jack Cook Field. And I can't wait for the weather to kind of be more agreeable as we get deeper into spring for baseball. But that's another day. Let's get your text in this hour. And let's talk about some of the things that have been happening in college football in the Sun Belt that might not directly impact the Thundering Herd, but it might here in the future. I don't know if you've been following along with what's been happening in the world of concessions, but if you haven't, there is an interesting plan that is taking place for Coastal Carolina. They call it the Coastal Carolina University Kickoff Meal Deal. Now, the tagline is every football game, every fan, always free. So what's the deal here? And, of course, we're going to have to harass Marshall about this if this is successful. So Coastal Carolina is partnering with its concessionaire, Aramark. I apologize. And the concessionaire, Aramark, is allowing fans to eat free at football games inside Brooks Stadium. So what's going to happen here is, they had some really nice flowery language to talk about how the fans, quote, are the heartbeat of Teal Nation, and they're always looking for ways to elevate their game day experience. So they're going to offer free concessions as a way to say thank you for the, quote, energy, passion, and support. Now, if you purchase a ticket, you visit the concession stand, you're going to be able to acquire 4 items per concession stand visit from a selection of hot dogs, nachos, popcorn, and fountain drink. I think water was in there as well. So water, fountain drinks, and there's no limit to the number of in-game visits, but fans must scan each trip through the line. They're going to have an app, Coastal Carolina's athletic app. So you'll have to have the app, and that's one way to get you linked to Coastal Carolina football. So you got the app. You have to scan that. And so they're probably going to be launching this app real soon, and this is going to be one of the perks to having the app. And if you want a specialty item, alcoholic beverages, outside vendors, something different than sort of the normal fare at a football game, that's still going to be there for purchase. So, I want a pretzel. Well, okay, that's going to cost you money. Hey, I'd like whatever the Herd Country equivalent is at a Coastal Carolina game. I'd like that. Okay, that's going to cost you $10. Here you go. I don't know what the cost of that is, but it's ridiculous whatever the cost is. At all football stadiums, it's ridiculous. Now, I'm interested to see what the end game here is. Does it have something to do with trying to encourage people to use the app? Is there a thought process going on that, okay, we get them in the stadium a little longer here, And if they're spending more time inside the stadium, yeah, they're gonna want to be at the game. Maybe we can attract more people. Maybe we can get more ticket sales because we're going to get people to come in and want to take advantage of this, feel like it's affordable to come to the game. So you're getting the season ticket money, you're getting the ticket money, and you're giving up a little bit of the concession money. But are you going to make that back somewhere else? Where are you going to make that back up at? Is it going to be the other items or going to maybe have a slight increase, or are you looking at trying to attract people into the stadium longer? So they're going to buy other things. Are they going to go to the stadium shop? They're going to buy stadium gear, jerseys, hats, T-shirts, apparel. Got to get your game day fit on. Is that going to translate into more people in the stands? And that means you're going to have, are you going to be able to get more people coming to the game? You can charge a little bit more for parking maybe. Where will Coastal Carolina be able to get some of this back and maybe coerce or encourage their fans to support the team a little bit more? And would they do this at basketball games as well? Is this just a football initiative? So if you have a full stadium, you have fans staying longer. Hey, maybe I want to stay. Maybe we'll go to the game. It's one thing if you go solo, you or your significant other, you bring kids into this, and you look at it and you go, okay, it's really expensive to go to the football game these days. And so this is an okay value because we can go to the game, we can get dollar dogs, we can get some nachos, we'll get a fountain drink. Kids can eat hot dogs. Yeah, we'll get some nachos. Get some dogs, get some popcorn. Popcorn's cheap. Come on, here's some popcorn. Popcorn's real cheap. They'll pop that all day. Fountain drinks. How expensive is that? The cost of the pour. How much are you really giving up there compared to? And I'm curious, I don't see any restrictions here. Is it going to be like a small fountain drink? Hey, give me this monster size. No, is it going to be a standard like 16-ounce cup? Are they going to have bigger options? Well, if you want to upsize, I don't see that here. But at the same time, you go to the window and you go, okay, here's my skep. Okay, can I have 4 hot dogs at a time? And then you go and you scarf those down and you get a beer to wash it down with, and you come back and you buy another beer. Hey, give me 4 more of those dogs. And next thing you know, you're eating 40 hot dogs. And would something like this fly at Jones C. Edwards Stadium? Could that be in the works for the future to have this kind of option? You got the food trucks. They're opening up the concourse a little early now so you can come in, not have to go through the line and wait. And you've got some fun, interactive things that are happening in the stadium. You can take advantage of some of the food vendors there. They're going to be different, and those food vendors at the stadium are going to obviously be some of that stuff that's going to be extra. You'll have to purchase that. But could you imagine going to the football game and going, it's costly it's costly. It costs money, as all things do. Is it really worth it? We're going to have to lay out the money for the tickets. We got a family 4-pack. Maybe we got a mini pack, and it's a great deal. But now you get the tickets, you get the concessions for free, and it looks like there's no tiering of this. It's not season ticket holders get this. It's like, look, if you purchase tickets, if you are a ticket holder, you purchase a ticket. Now, does this also mean the students are going to be able to, however Coastal Carolina does its student tickets, students will gobble up those hot dogs, right? That popcorn, that's gone. Concessions, I don't know. Are they a Pepsi or are they a Coke product place? I don't know. Somebody tell me. But this is ingenious. This is a great idea because now it lowers the barrier for a family. As an individual, you can take advantage of this. Okay, I'm a Herd fan. I'm going to the game. Just me. I'm going to go get some hot dogs. Because if you go to Marshall football games now, you have the tailgaters. They're there. They're tailgating. That's all they do. So they're not coming in. Then you got the Herd fans that are coming in. And there's no more pass out. So, well, I've got our tailgate here. We spend a lot of money in our tailgate spot. We got a lot of food here. So we'll just go out and we'll listen to the game on the radio, and we'll not come in the second half. But, Yeah, would something like this encourage more fans to stay in the stadium? I don't know what the pass-out situation is at Coastal Carolina, but if you're at Marshall and you can't leave the stadium and you got your family there and you don't have to spend a lot of money to kind of keep them fed, long game. Game could go on a few hours. You're there a long time. You want to get in early because you don't want to wait in line. You don't want to miss the game. So you want to be there in your seat ready to go when the herd thunders out of the shoey, and you're going to spend several hours at the football game. So here you go. This is a great idea. You know, I've bought our tickets. Now we can feed the kids with hot dogs. Hopefully there's plenty of ketchup and mustard. I don't imagine these things with sauce. I don't know. I want to see the menu. That's something I do want to see, what the menu options are. And should more college stadiums go to this? Because after all, you're making your money off your concessions. How is this going to kick back for Coastal Carolina? And could something like this generate more ticket sales and help increase game day atmosphere experience for fans in Huntington? Could you duplicate this formula at a Marshall game? Or would Marshall's administration just look at this and go, what are you talking about? There's no way. There's no way we're going to just have an open concession window where you can just roll up and get 4 hot dogs and then come back and then is there a cooling off period? I could get in line with the app. Okay, I got my 4, scarf those down. Okay, here's my you could just have a turnstile. You could just be rolling in and out. How's that going to work as well? And could this logistically happen in Huntington? Because there have been times where a lot of people have complained on social media. I can't verify the truth and validity of this, but it's a problem to have that you run out of food sometimes. So what kind of quantities are we looking at here to kind of make this work and to pull this off? But I like the idea. I think it's a great idea. You can go in, take your family to the game, and you know that it's not going to be a total breaking of the bank because you could get an affordable ticket package. You can maybe get a mini plan. Maybe you can get a family 4-pack, get a ticket package on promo, and you could take the kids to the game. Maybe you can't go to every game, but you know this would encourage you, hey, let's go to the game. We'll get some hot dogs. And if you got 4 tickets, everybody, and how's that work? How's that work as well? I've got 4 tickets, so you scan me 4 times. Okay, kids, you get your hot dogs and we'll get your beverage. You know, how's that going to work as well? So I'm curious about the logistics of this, but I think it's a fascinating idea and it's fantastic. And it will bring people in. And, of course, there's going to be people who will come and abuse the system, and you will have that. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. There's going to be someone to come in and try to game this. How many hot dogs can I eat at the game? How can I push this system? How can I break this system? What can I do to maximize my trip to a Coastal Carolina football game? I'm going to eat 40 hot dogs. And I've seen you on social media. You know who you are. You've already called it out. You're going to eat 40. I read that stuff. So does this fly at Marshall? And no, this is not an April Fool's joke. Does this fly at Marshall? And could it work for other sports? You go and you have an opportunity to go, okay, you know, we're going to eat at the ballpark. We're going to eat at the stadium. We're going to eat at the arena because we get our choice of 4 items, up to 4, right? I think that's the deal. You can pick off like every item at least once. Get a hot dog, get the nachos, get the popcorn, get the beverage. I think the probably the best thing to do is get the nachos, 2 hot dogs, and the beverage. That would probably be the way to do that. 4 items per concession stand visit. Keep that in mind. If you're making the road trip, I'm sure that maybe that applies to road trips as well. If you're buying a ticket, you got to get the app, though. More coming up on this edition of The Drive. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Welcome back to our Tuesday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour is going to be 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've been talking about what's going to happen at Coastal Carolina football games. What kind of promotions do you think the Thundering Herd should look at when it comes to free food? Is that a attraction for you? And I'm kind of curious how the students are going to eat this up as well, no pun intended. You tell students, hey, you can come back as much as you want, and we'll give you hot dogs. You can only have 4 at a time, or you can get nachos and a drink. You know that's going to be abused. Somebody's going to ruin it for everybody else by eating 40 or 50 hot dogs. You know it's going to happen. Or what happens if the concessionaire runs out? And then you got angry fans. Well, I bought a ticket, and you said I could come in and I could get 4 items as many times as I could come back and visit, and you ran out of food. You know that's going to happen. Somebody is going to feel that you didn't hold up your end of the deal. And there's going to be somebody who's going to abuse the system. So I'm curious to see what happens. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Our text line is open this hour, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And, of course, it is April Fool's Day, so we've seen a few things on social media already, and I'm going to be honest with you, I just stayed off social media today. I did see the one where Marshall changed the name of the mascot to the Thundering Squirrels. Okay, I thought that was cute. This stuff, though, has kind of lost its impact because you got to be careful now. You can't just throw things out there because somebody is going to take it as it's real, and you're going to have a problem. There have probably been hundreds, if not thousands, of April Fool's Day jokes that have gone wrong. But what have been maybe the best you've seen so far? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. And they don't have to be sports related. Or what's been the best April Fool's Day jokes you've seen? And it could be sports related. But there's a list of April Fool's Day jokes that have probably fallen flat. And you could probably Google a lot of these as well. And I don't want to get into too many of them. You remember the Toyota? And this is probably one of the more famous ones. There was a Florida waitress. She was at a Hooters restaurant. It was Panama City. And she learned that she won the grand prize following a competition the company held to reward whoever could sell, you ready for this? The most beer. And this was April Fool's Day 2001. I did remember this one, so I looked it up earlier. And the winner, and this is according to the AP story, was supposed to receive a Toyota. Oh, great. Okay. A new car. Hey, you know what? I could use a new vehicle right now. I'll take a Toyota. Sure. But there was a catch. So they blindfold her. They take her out to the parking lot, and her grand prize was a green toy Yoda Star Wars action figure doll. So you get it, toy Yoda, and it was an April Fool's Day prank. But you shouldn't have done that because you know what the waitress did? She quit and sued Hooters for fraudulent misrepresentation and breach of contract. And it was settled in 2002 for an undisclosed sum of money. And she received enough compensation to pick out whatever type of Toyota she wanted. And that's just some of the April Fool's Day pranks that have gone wrong. And so now you see these things on social media, and it's more of the eye roll type because you can't do these things without repercussion, especially when it's mean-spirited. But I thought the Thundering Herd with the Thundering Squirrels, that was cute. I've seen a few people have tried to be funny, and for the most part, most of you all have fallen flat on your face with your humor. But that's okay. That's okay because, after all, it's just once a year where you don't believe anything you see. For the most part, you still have to. You have to be careful out there. But you got to be extra cautious on April Fool's Day. So I think it's more now you see brands try to have fun with it, just ludicrous things. But at the same time, I don't know. There might be an opportunity here for merchandise. How many of you would roll down to Glenn's right now and buy Thundering Squirrel apparel and take it to the Marshall game? You roll up in your Thundering Squirrel apparel. Or could you imagine taking this one step further? You have throwback uniforms, you have throwback jerseys, you have all of this. You could come out one game, and it could be basketball, it could be baseball. I don't know if you'd do it football. It could be softball. I don't know. Whichever team, whichever group is ready to have fun, you could have Thundering Squirrels night. I think football would probably make sense, but after all, the Squirrel did score a touchdown a few years ago, if you remember correctly. Could you see yourself picking up a sweet Thundering Squirrels baseball jersey on Thundering Squirrels Day at the Jack? Get that Thundering Squirrels hat. Yeah, I don't know what kind of logistics would go into maybe changing the logo on the turf. Let's not do anything that crazy. But, yeah, you have Mothman night, you have all kinds of other nights, and you have throwback and special jerseys where you play as the Mothman, and of course, you've got the Coldcats with its alternative jersey coming soon. Are we allowed to talk about that? I think we are. The Slaw Dogs. I think we're allowed to talk about the Slaw Dogs. But could you see that as a huge marketing opportunity? And you could have, if you really planned it out and if you thought ahead, you could have unveiled it today and said, okay, we're going to be known as the Thundering Squirrels, and you could have had a link with merch ready to go. You could have put some merch out there, and next thing you know, you're making some cash off of a funny April Fool's Day joke where you changed the name of the mascot from the American Bison. You're no longer the Thundering Herd. You are the Thundering Squirrels. 304-396-TALK is our line, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Final segment coming up on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Save big money.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
Final segment for today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Thanks for being a part of it. Hope you are making your way down to the Jack, or you're already there. If you are close, first pitch is going to start right after 6 o'clock. Ticket on EKU. Should be a fun one. And don't forget, we've got baseball coming up this weekend as well. Our Thundering Herd Showcase. We do it on Saturdays when the Herd's home. And it's going to be Southern Miss as the opponent for the Thundering Herd. And of course, we're going to have everything this weekend. We've got the NCAA tournament. We've got Pirates baseball. We have got Marshall baseball, all right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And you can also listen to the NCAA tournament on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. So Florida and Auburn, Houston and Duke. I need it to go like this: Florida and then Duke and then Duke. That's all I need. Just Florida, one more win, Duke, two more wins, and I'm good. I'm golden. And then I could probably, with the air quotes here, winnings from the bracket game for entertainment purposes only, I could probably go out and actually fix my car. That's what we're looking for here. You can find me on social media. X is the place to be, or you can also find me on Threads, Blue Sky, and we, of course, have a Facebook page. You can follow that. It's The Drive with Paul Swann. Everything is free. All you have to do is follow, like, and subscribe, and also you get the podcast that way as well. We're going to wrap up here early. I want to thank our esteemed general manager of the Tri-State Coldcats, Christian Palmer, for joining us and getting us started, helping me out. I do appreciate that immensely. And don't forget, he's going to have the call of the Herd on Saturday, and we're not that far away from actually getting started with Coldcats baseball. Looking forward to a lot of the things that are going to be happening this season. Sergeant Slaughter's coming to town. That's going to be fun. If you're of a certain generation, you grew up and you were a Sergeant Slaughter fan, you know you were. So with that said, we are out of time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'll be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Have a great night, everyone.